Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Australian Deputy Prime Minister meets Sri Lankan President, commends anti-corruption reforms. IGP Deshabandhu appears before Parliamentary Committee for third time. Bail granted to Kehelia and son. Rajitha and Johnston appear before High Court. Mount Etna erupts as large plumes rise from Italian volcano.
Out of those stories in detail now. Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles arrived in Sri Lanka today for an official one-day visit. During a meeting with President Anurukumara Dissanayake, Marles expressed his appreciation for the current government's efforts to combat corruption and promote transparency.
Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles met with President Anurukumara Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat. The discussions focused on strengthening the long-standing bilateral relationship between Sri Lanka and Australia, with particular emphasis on enhancing cooperation between the two nations. President Dissanayake noted that Sri Lanka has embarked on a path toward economic stability and briefed Richard Marles on the government's initiatives to eliminate corruption and fraud. Richard Marles was also informed of the progress made in these areas. The President acknowledged Australia's continued support in areas such as maritime security, combating illegal trade, human trafficking, terrorism and arms smuggling. President Dissanayake also highlighted that Sri Lanka is a safe and secure destination for tourism and investment. Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles recalled the 70-year history of economic and political ties between the two countries and conveyed his government's commitment to working closely with Sri Lanka. He also praised the Sri Lankan government's anti-corruption agenda, which aligns with the values of Australia's new administration. He emphasized that the primary goals of his visit include strengthening trade, economic, political, tourism and investment relations between the two nations. Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles arrived in Sri Lanka accompanied by a 15-member delegation. They were received at the Bandaranaike International Airport by Deputy Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Attorney-at-Law Sunil Watagala. Following the conclusion of his visit to Sri Lanka, the Australian Deputy Prime Minister is scheduled to depart for India later tonight.
Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles reaffirmed Australia's commitment to deepening its strategic relationship with Sri Lanka, describing the partnership as a vital opportunity for both nations in a rapidly evolving Indo-Pacific region. He was speaking to a select group of journalists during his visit to Colombo.
It's really, we see this in terms of opportunity. I suppose, to put it simply, from our point of view, an empowered and enabled Sri Lanka is in Australia's national interest. So we want to work more closely together to deepen our strategic relationship across the bilateral relationship, but including in areas like defence, where we can do more in terms of helping to build capacity within the Sri Lankan Defence Force. But from an Australian point of view, the opportunity that represents is to become much closer to Sri Lanka. And so I think that works in the interests of both of our countries. I mean, we share a desire to see the rules-based order asserted in the Indian Ocean. When we have that, when the rules of the road are clear, that works in the interests of countries of our size. And there's just the obvious point to make that a rules-based order gives agency to middle powers and to smaller countries. A world which is simply based on power and might is a world where we lose agency. In that, Sri Lanka and Australia have a shared interest, and we want to pursue the opportunity of pursuing that interest. It's an opportunity for us and Sri Lanka. There's no expectation. What it is an opportunity for us to be closer together, to do more, to share more. We both have an interest, for example, in seeing and having the greatest maritime domain awareness. We can cooperate more together to help us have a shared maritime domain awareness, which would be much higher than if we're acting individually. It is the opportunity that comes from working together, and so that's how we're approaching it. It's not that there's any expectations or any obligations. It's much more about the language of opportunity. We see this region as profoundly strategically important for us. We come here to take advantage of what we think are the shared opportunities that exist for both of our countries, and that's the basis upon which we're moving forward.
The Deputy Prime Minister reiterated Australia's commitment to a stable Indo-Pacific region governed by international law, while acknowledging ongoing security concerns related to China's growing military presence.
Well, I think a few points to make. The starting point with our relationship with China, more generally, is since we came to office back in May of 2022, we've sought to stabilise our relationship with China after a significant period of no ministerial level contact, and where quite a lot of our trade with China was suspended. We've got that trade back. There's much more ministerial contact. We're grateful for all of that, and the relationship is in a better place. Of course, that said, China does represent an ongoing security anxiety for us. We've seen a very significant military build-up on the part of China. Now, what we stand for is an assertion of the rules-based order, as I said in my opening remarks. That's got to be. It's in the interests of a country like ours, which is deeply invested in a global rules-based order as being the underpinning of how we connect to the world and how our economy works. But as a middle power, a smaller country in that sense, the rules-based order gives us agency. Now, we feel that's under pressure. And that's under pressure here in the Indo-Pacific. It is under pressure we see in the Indian Ocean, and we've worked very closely with India to assert the rules-based order here in the Indian Ocean, and we seek to do the same with Sri Lanka. I think that is very important. I would note the very important statement of the Sri Lankan government that it's not going to allow Sri Lankan territory to be used in any way to undermine India's national interest, national security interest, and we think that's a very important statement in terms of stability in the region and within the Indian Ocean, and that's something that we very much support. We work really closely with India in relation to this, and as I say, we do have a security anxiety when it comes to China. What we want to see is clearly a peaceful world, but a world which is based on that rules-based order. And when it comes to the high seas, the operation of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon appeared for the third consecutive time before the committee appointed to investigate the alleged misuse of power during his tenure.
Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon was represented by Attorney-at-Law Sanjeeva Veeravikrama before the investigative committee chaired by Supreme Court Justice Preeti Padman Surasena. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris appeared on behalf of the Attorney General. During today's session, Thennakoon made a formal request to the committee stating that certain media outlets has distorted statements made during the previous hearing. The following is an excerpt from the exchange between the committee chairman and the Inspector General.
Your Lordship, some media outlets have reported that I said police officers are afraid of Harakata. I never made such a statement. This is deeply unfair to me and tarnishes the reputation of officers who serve with responsibility. It creates unnecessary problems.
Some corrupt officials are still in government service, including within the police. It is said that a group of such individuals are involved in this matter. That's what this is about.
Your Lordship, I do not have state security. I have to attend court in Mathura. These kinds of media reports could lead to threats against my life. I request that the confidentiality of this committee be protected. When I go to Mathura Court, I could face threats from groups associated with Harakkata. Therefore, I urge the media to act with great responsibility.
Such threats are not within the scope of this committee. Journalists must act with caution. We cannot intervene in matters of personal security. That's why these proceedings are not confidential and why we've allowed media presence.
Meanwhile, the committee also focused on sworn statements agreed upon in the previous session.
Your Honour, the statements of 12 individuals were handed over to the relevant parties by the Criminal Investigation Department last Saturday. I am now preparing to submit statements from witnesses 12 to 22.
Your Honour, 9 more statements have not yet been provided. Without them, how can I cross-examine? This is unfair to my client. I only have 6 days until the 9th, so I request that these be submitted promptly.
The committee also addressed the issue of Inspector General Deshabandhu Tennakone's prolonged absence despite an active warrant being in effect.
Your Honour, my client is an ordinary citizen and is entitled to equal rights. He has appeared before the court through legal representation.
Your Honour, I strongly object to the claim that he is an ordinary citizen. He is the head of the institution responsible for upholding law and order. An open warrant had been issued against him. Therefore, I reject the notion that he could be treated as a regular citizen. Furthermore, in this case, the 29th witness has gone missing under suspicious circumstances. There is serious concern about how this disappearance occurred. Witnesses 24 and 25 are also extremely important to this investigation.
Your Honour, I don't understand what he is implying. He keeps saying there are important witnesses, then denies it. My client is not a murderer.
Your Honour, I say this without hesitation. He is more dangerous than the underworld. Even Harakkata fears him. Sir, this is how he behaves, completely without discipline. He acted the same way in the Mathura Court.
Following this exchange and with the agreement of both parties, Justice P. Padmasura submitted the primary evidence to the committee. Peers noted that the Criminal Investigation Department is still conducting inquiries into the Valigama shooting incident, which has delayed the submission of remaining evidence. Both parties agreed to present the testimonies of witnesses 23 and 30 to the committee. Additionally, the committee agreed that the statements of key witnesses 24 and 25 would be read in Parliament. Attorney at Law Veera Vikrama, on behalf of Tennakone, requested that 3 days be allocated from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to review the evidence. The committee did not object to this request. The committee is scheduled to reconvene on the 9th, 11th and 16th of this month, with continuous sessions planned from the 16th onward.
Investigations are ongoing at the Batticlaw office of Sirasa Chandrakanthan, also known as Pillayan, under the supervision of the Criminal Investigation Department and the Police Special Task Force. Authorities confirmed that the office, which was previously searched, yielded a significant cache of documents believed to be of investigative value. In addition to the documents, several mobile phones and a satellite phone were also recovered during the operation. The CID is currently leading further inquiries into the material seized with the aim of uncovering any potential links to ongoing investigations. Sirasa Chandrakanthan is presently in CID custody and is being questioned in connection with the findings. Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali today ordered to release on bail former Minister Keheliya Rambukwella, his son Ramit Rambukwella, in connection with the high-profile corruption investigation. The suspects were granted bail under strict conditions, including 3 personal sureties of 1 million rupees each and 3 cash bails of 50,000 rupees each. The court also imposed a travel ban on the accused and ordered the surrender of their passports to the court. A third suspect, Nishantha Bandara Basnayaka, who served as the coordinating secretary to the former minister, was released on 2 personal sureties of 1 million rupees each and a cash bail of 100,000 rupees. The case has been scheduled for further hearing on the 10th October 2025. The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption informed the court today that it has recorded a statement from Amali Nayanika Rambukwella, the third daughter of former Minister Keheliya Rambukwella, as part of its ongoing investigation. The Commission further stated that inquiries are continuing into a suspicious bank account and the transactions conducted through it. Colombo High Court Judge Navaratna Marasinghe scheduled the next hearing of a high-profile corruption case involving former Fisheries Minister Rajitha Senaratne and 2 other defendants for the 29th August. The case relates to allegations that the state incurred financial losses in 2014 when the Muthuwal Fisheries Harbour was leased to a private company during Senaratne's tenure as minister. At today's hearing, the legal representative for the Bribery Commission informed the court that the indictment against the accused needs to be amended and requested additional time to do so. Granting permission to revise the indictment, the judge fixed the next hearing for the 29th August. The charges stem from transactions that allegedly occurred between the 1st August and 1st November 2014, during which the Muthuwal Fisheries Harbour was leased under terms that reportedly caused financial harm to the government. The accused in this case are Rajitha Senaratne, former Minister of Fisheries, Upali Liyanage, former chairman of the Ceylon Fishery Harbours Corporation, Neil Ravindra Munasinghe, former managing director of the corporation. The case was filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption under Section 70 of the Bribery Act, with 5 charges filed against 2 of the defendants. Colombo High Court Judge R.S.S. Sapuvida today ordered that further hearings in the corruption case against former Minister of Trade Johnston Fernando and 2 others be postponed to the 1st October. The case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption alleges that during his tenure as Trade Minister in 2014, Fernando misused employees of the state-owned Satosa by deploying them for political activities, thereby causing financial losses to the government. When the case was called today, the 3 accused, Johnston Fernando, former Satosa chairman Iraj Fernando and Muhammad Sahir, who served as the minister's coordinating secretary, were present in court. During the session, testimony was recorded from prosecution witnesses under the direction of Bribery Commission officials. Following this, the judge ordered that further witness examination be postponed until the 1st October. The case has been filed under Section 70 of the Bribery Act with charges relating to the offence of corruption.
A formal complaint was submitted to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, requesting an investigation into the assets and liabilities of former Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena. The complaint was lodged by Jamuni Kamanta Tushara, chairman of the Citizens Power Organisation Against Bribery, Corruption and Waste, who urged the Commission to conduct a full audit of Abegunawardena's assets and liabilities from 1997 to date. Tushara requested that if any assets were found to have been acquired through illegal or unethical means, legal action should be taken by the state to recover them.
We previously submitted this complaint to the Criminal Investigation Department, but it was never investigated, especially during the tenure of the Ranil Wickremesinghe administration. Now that the current Director General of the Bribery Commission is conducting inquiries independently and without political interference, we are requesting a thorough investigation into Rohitha Abegunawardena's assets. If his wealth was acquired legally through business or other legitimate means, he should be cleared. But if it was obtained through fraudulent or illegal methods, the state must take legal steps to recover those assets. Former Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena visited the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters today. Abegunawardena, who initially represented the Sri Lanka Freedom Party before joining the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and later supporting President Ranil Wickremesinghe, was elected to Parliament under the New Democratic Front during the last general election.
This isn't something new. Every time a government changes, these things happen. It's not a new chapter. As public representatives, if we have responsibilities, we must fulfill them. If we haven't done anything wrong, we have nothing to fear. No, everything that was filed against me has already been resolved in court. If anyone says otherwise, they are free to say what they want out of jealousy.
Authorities have taken steps to freeze several assets belonging to Poravakara Arachilage Pramesh, also known as Chutta, who is alleged to be an organized criminal figure. The action follows an investigation conducted by the Illegal Assets Investigation Division, which uncovered evidence of unlawfully acquired wealth.
According to police, the suspect is believed to have amassed significant assets through illegal activities including trafficking Kerala cannabis, crystal meth and involvement in treasure hunting. These findings emerged during an inquiry initiated by a petition from the Rajangana Community Police Committee. Police further stated that the suspect has been arrested on multiple occasions in connection with various offences and is currently facing ongoing legal proceedings. As a result of the investigation, authorities have frozen a motor vehicle valued at 12 million rupees and a plot of land in the Kibula Mankada area in Rajangana worth 8 million rupees, both registered under Chutta's name. He is scheduled to be produced before the Tambuthegama Magistrates Court tomorrow.
Newsfirst with the people.
Samagi Janabalavagiya parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara held a press conference to clarify that his recent allegations regarding the sale of vehicles belonging to the North Central Provincial Council were based on incorrect information.
Earlier this month, on the 1st of June, SJB MP Dayasiri Jayasekara accused the provincial administration of selling 12 government vehicles at undervalued prices through a tender process.
Instead of a public auction, a tender was called. 12 vehicles were sold for just 28 million rupees. One of them was a 2014 BMW, which is typically worth around 35 million rupees. But it was sold for just 5 million rupees. There were also 3 Prados. Selling 12 vehicles for 28 million rupees is worse than a giveaway.
In response, North Central Province Governor Vasantha Jinadasa held a press briefing refuting the claims.
The tender process was publicly advertised in 3 newspapers on the 30th March. The BMW X5 in question is a 2016 model. Its assessed value was 19.8 million rupees and we decided to set the tender price at 21.8 million rupees. The total assessed value of all vehicles was 91.2 million rupees, but we generated 123.6 million rupees in revenue through the tender process. These are baseless and unfounded allegations.
Today, MP Jayasekara acknowledged his error.
I based
my earlier statement on reports from several newspapers and calls I received from individuals in the North Central Province. However, after reviewing the Governor's detailed explanation and the official data, I now realize that the information I received was inaccurate. In politics, anyone can make a mistake, but it is our responsibility to correct it. I extend my sincere apologies to the officials of the North Central Provincial Council, including the Governor, for any inconvenience caused by the dissemination of incorrect information.
Sri Lanka launched the National Credit Guarantee Institution Limited on Monday the 2nd in Colombo. The initiative is aimed at enabling micro, small and medium enterprises to access finance without the need for collateral.
NCGIL was established through a public-private partnership between the government of Sri Lanka and 13 stakeholder financial institutions with the strategic and financial backing of the ADB, which provided an initial loan of $50 million to support its establishment.
The present government, in our manifesto we mentioned, we will provide credit without collateral. Bank of Ceylon and some of the state banks were assisting in the journey to realize that promise, but today is yet another important milestone in that journey, where action speaks louder than words. The National Credit Guarantee Insurance Institution provides that facility where credit will be extended to deserving businesses in the MSME sector to access finance without collateral wherever possible. Many of the activities that we should have done had come to a standstill in the past. Lending was not happening, borrowing was lower, inflation was skyrocketed, projects were not taking place. Implementations were slow. The challenge ahead of the new government is to ensure we restart that process, provide the support, provide the facilitation to ensure businesses will have the confidence to come back and to start engaging. Entrepreneurs will have the confidence to try again. SMEs will have the tenacity to go back to the finance sector and start borrowing. This is where it is very important for all of us to work as a team. Many of the countries in the region has provided this facility to their business sector entrepreneurs, particularly in the MSME sector. It was an item lacking in the Sri Lankan business landscape. From today onwards, that gap is filled. The segments are not limited to traditional industries. We want to support Sri Lankan entrepreneurs and businesses to explore more into the export segment, increase their productivity in the agricultural segment, environmental friendly industries and businesses, ecotourism, IT services, and many other sectors.
Dr. Nandalal Petersinghe, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, emphasized the critical role of credit information in improving access to finance, particularly for underserved sectors of the economy.
We know why certain sectors are not getting credit enough and why some are getting more. That's because of the risk appetite or risk taken, because the banks cannot take too much risk because they are giving money out of someone else's money. So they need to manage the risk of when they lend money to businesses. When they see there are risky customers, obviously they have to take a bit more care when they are lending. Especially countries like us in this kind of development, the access to credit basically because of lack of information of the creditor, then banks are reluctant to provide credit. What we don't have here, what some other countries are having is the very rich information on credit worthiness through credit information bureaus and through private sector institutions and government institutions. This in our country, Sri Lanka, we have Credit Information Bureau. I think we must emphasize the important role of credit worthiness information of the customer. That is one reason where banks or financial institutions can provide credit without collateral if we have a good information on credit worthiness. This is the role of the Credit Information Bureau.
The 79th celebration of the Italian National Day was held in Colombo yesterday. At the event, it was announced that the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy will be visiting Sri Lanka later this year.
On the 2nd June 1946, the Italians were called to vote for a referendum that would determine the institutional shape of the country, and they chose to give life to the Italian Republic, which turned 79 years old yesterday. According to the Italian ambassador to Sri Lanka, Italy has emerged as the fourth largest destination for Sri Lankan exports in the first quarter of 2025.
According to the latest data published in the first quarter 2025, Italy was the fourth market of destination of goods produced in Sri Lanka, showing the potential for our bilateral cooperation. However, our ties extend far beyond economics, encompassing a wide range of areas. The conclusion of a number of memoranda of understanding currently under negotiation highlights our joint efforts to include important social, cultural, and political dimensions in our collaboration. And the forthcoming visit of our Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs will confirm the political will to build up our bilateral friendship. It is with full dedication to these commitments that we celebrate today the Day of the Italian Republic in Colombo. This occasion not only honors Italy's democratic foundations, but also reaffirms our intentions to further strengthen the meaningful friendship between Italy and Sri Lanka, two countries bound by history, people, and shared inspirations for the future.
Minister of Justice and National Integration Harshana Nanayakkara noted that while diplomatic ties between the two nations span over 7 decades, structured political dialogue had been lacking until now.
Though our diplomatic ties span more than 7 decades, until recently, we lacked formal mechanism for structured political dialogue. I am pleased to note that we are now prepared to ink the Memorandum of Understanding on the establishment of political consultations mechanisms between our two countries. We look forward to welcoming the Under-Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Italy, and to hosting the inaugural round of political consultations September this year. A number of other memoranda of understanding between our countries are nearing finalization. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, strengthening economic cooperation remains a central pillar of our bilateral agenda. Italy is among our top export destinations, a significant source of tourism and an important investor. With economic stabilization and ongoing reforms in Sri Lanka, we are confident that more Italian companies will recognize the opportunities our country offers. There's a vast potential for increased investment in manufacturing, ICT, hospitality, and tourism, agriculture, and infrastructure development. Italy is also an increasingly popular destination for Sri Lankan products and a vital market for our tourism industry. With more than 38,000 Italian visitors arriving in Sri Lanka last year, we warmly invite even more Italian tourists to explore the rich culture, heritage, and natural beauty of our island. The Sri Lankan community in Italy has made significant contributions to Italian society and continues to play a vital role in strengthening our ties. The substantial remittances sent home by this community constitute an important contribution to our economy.
The celebration of this prestigious occasion was held in Colombo and was attended by several dignitaries, including the Minister of Justice and National Integration Harshana Nanayakkara, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung, and others.
Professor Udayanga Hemapala has been appointed as the chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board. Professor Hemapala served as the secretary to the Ministry of Energy in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, public consultation in the Western Province on the second electricity tariff revision for this year was held at the BMICH today. The Deputy General Manager of the Ceylon Electricity Board spoke about the proposal of the CEB to increase tariffs.
The projected income for the last 7 months was 230.7 billion rupees. When we consider the summary of the costs of the CEB, the power generation cost is 156.6 billion rupees. The generation capacity cost is 44.9 billion rupees. The transmission cost is 12.9 billion rupees. In addition to that, loan repayments and overdue interest payments add up to 14.1 billion rupees. The overdue interest component includes debts in the past that have not been settled. The cost of repayment is 5.2 billion rupees. The distribution cost is 44.8 billion rupees. The total cost is 276.5 billion rupees. We have forecast a deficit of 42.2 billion rupees. When we compare the income and expenditure for the next 7 months, we made 2 more comparisons. One was the fact that under the extended fund facility, the Sri Lankan government had come to an agreement with the IMF that the loss suffered by the CEB in the first quarter will be compensated. The next comparison was the profit of the CEB during the final half of last year. To cover this loss, the CEB proposes for the electricity tariffs to be increased equally among consumers. A proposal to increase all electricity tariffs by 18.3% from the 1st of July 2025 has been submitted to the Public Utilities Commission by the CEB.
සියලුම පාරිභෝගික කාණ්ඩ සඳහා පවතින ගාස්තු 18.3කින් වැඩි කිරීමට අවශ්‍ය යෝජනා ලංවීම විසින් මහජන උපයෝගිතා කොමිෂන් සභාවට ඉදිරිපත් කරා.
At today's cabinet decisions media briefing, Health Minister and Cabinet spokesperson Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa addressed pressing questions from journalists regarding the current status of COVID-19, dengue and influenza outbreaks in the country.
ඉන්දියාවේ ප්‍රාන්ත 28න් 27කම මේ ප්‍රභේදය පැතිරලා ගිහින් තියෙනවා. එතකොට දැන් ලංකාවට මේකේ අවදානම වැඩි.
මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි අවධානය යොමු කරන්න පටන් ගත්තේ
We didn't just start paying attention to this yesterday or the day before. This variant has been reported not only in several Indian states but also in other South Asian countries. Our epidemiology unit and the Ministry of Health have been closely monitoring the global situation from the outset. We are in continuous dialogue with the World Health Organization, whose experience and guidance are crucial in managing such situations. We've increased surveillance and PCR testing capacity. Based on the number of reported cases, we will determine our next steps. Under the leadership of Health Secretary Dr. Anirudh Singha, officials are meeting regularly to assess the situation and issue updates. PCR testing is being conducted for individuals showing symptoms, and we are now working to accelerate the testing process.
The minister also commented on the rising cases of dengue, chikungunya and influenza.
Dengue, chikungunya.
We are seeing an increase in patients presenting the symptoms of dengue, chikungunya, influenza and even COVID-19. The public has become more conscious of following proper hygiene practices. Hospitals are providing the best possible care within their capacity. The Ministry of Health, along with other relevant institutions, has launched a coordinated response plan. Our two main objectives are: first, to prevent the spread of these diseases, and second, to ensure timely treatment and recovery of those admitted to hospitals. The government is actively involved in both areas, and we expect these efforts to intensify in the coming days. We are paying close attention to all 4 diseases.
Production of brown sugar and the prices in the market were discussed in Parliament today. The debate began with a question raised by opposition leader Sajid Premadasa.
According to our reports, a kilo of imported sugar is taxed on 50 rupees, but locally manufactured sugar has been slabbed with a 18% VAT. Therefore, the production cost for a kilo is 238 rupees, but it is sold in the market for 175 rupees. This is being done at a huge loss. What are the reasons for the losses suffered by the sale of ethanol, which is a byproduct of manufacturing sugar? The litre is going at a rate between 450 and 475, but the production cost is between 628 and 750 rupees. Will the government act to remove the VAT imposed on locally manufactured sugar and ethanol? When we took over the government, a kilo of brown sugar was sold in the market at 360 rupees. White sugar was sold at 220 rupees. Recently, we reduced the price of brown sugar to 260 rupees. A litre of ethanol that was sold at 1,500 rupees to 1,700 rupees is now sold at 475 rupees. Those are market conditions based on supply and demand. A litre of ethanol produced using corn is 230 rupees. It is cheap for them to produce alcohol after purchasing this at 230 rupees. Ethanol is provided within our institutions at 800 rupees. If we do not do that, opposition leader, we will have to reduce the benefit given to the farmers. Those involved in the mafia, what they do is they give the information from our operations officer and gives it to the market. Nuwan Dharmaratne was the COO of our institution. He is a member of the price committee. He sat at the price committee and leaked information. I asked him to resign because we will not give any room for people who betray us like that. This is a newly created issue. Your opposition leader organized that protest. Nuwan Dharmaratne helped him to do it. It was the day after he was removed from his position that the protest was staged. There is no reason to protest. Sevanagala has not been closed down and will not be closed down. If we said that we will be selling this, there would have been no issue. Then came Aryashia Vikramanayaka. I don't know how he got permission for a milk factory in the middle of Sevanagala, but there is an issue on the ownership to date. Then Daya Gamage, he is a minister of your government. He took this over and stole what was left.
ඔබතුමාලගේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඇමතිවරයෙක්. එයා මේක අරගෙන ඉතුරු ටික සුද්ධ කරා. ඇයි ඔබතුමාලට බැරි IMF එකත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා මේ 118
Why can't you discuss with the IMF and remove the VAT that has been imposed on locally manufactured sugar?
සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කරලා යම් කිසි වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ක්‍රියාත්මක නොකරන්න. බොහොම ස්තුති විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා. IMF එකේ පැරාමිතීන් වල
Thank you very much, opposition leader. We are within the parameters of the IMF agreement, but the issue here is that the tax law does not allow for taxes to be amended targeting just one industry. If VAT is removed for one industry, it will set a bad precedent. That is the reason why we did not do that.
The Personal Data Protection Amendment Act was taken up for debate in Parliament.
Several amendments to the Data Protection Act No. 9 of 2022 were taken up for debate in Parliament today. These amendments were approved during the Cabinet meeting held on the 19th of February. Although the Data Protection Act was to be fully implemented from the 18th of March 2025, several new amendments were brought forward to better protect the data of the general public in line with the government's digitization drive.
Certain amendments had to be made to the Act to allow for AI to be brought in under the Act. Should the data be kept in Sri Lanka or can the data be hosted on an international public cloud? We have included provisions to perform these actions subject to certain regulatory approvals. How can this be done without data being leaked? And what can be done using the data? These matters will be overseen and controlled by this Act. There's room for the state, private companies or even foreign countries to misuse biometric data gathered for the digital ID. This Act has been brought to ensure that such things cannot be done.
The Aquinas College of Higher Studies held its convocation and award ceremonies for 2025, celebrating academic excellence and the achievements of its graduating students.
The convocation and award ceremonies of Aquinas College of Higher Studies was graced by Reverend Dr. R.A.D.J. Sylvester Ranasinghe.
Presence is a great honor. Lanka has long struggled with the failure to uphold the rule of law, entrenched corruption, large-scale misappropriation of public funds, and politically motivated violence, issues that have deeply undermined the nation's governance and economy. These abuses have often been perpetrated at the highest level of authority, creating a toxic cycle of impunity and mistrust. Restoring public confidence requires urgent and meaningful reforms to establish justice, accountability, and democratic integrity. There is hope, my dear friends, that the present government will take decisive actions to end the destructive pattern. My dear graduates, do not lose your voice in the noise of others' expectations. Stay true to what you believe in. Follow your heart and your conscience. Pursue further studies. Let this degree be the first step in a lifelong journey of learning. Stand for the truth. Do not let your wealth and power erode your ethics. Sri Lanka needs you, your minds, your voices, your courage. You are the generation that can shape a better future. That education is not simply the transfer of information. It is the shaping of intellect, the nurturing of conscience, and the cultivation of character.
Graduates were awarded degrees and honors, recognizing years of dedication and hard work.
A gruesome murder committed in Sirasa, Vavuniya was reported today.
A 34-year-old man had turned himself in at the Puliyankulama police station in Vavuniya along with the severed head of his wife. The victim was a 32-year-old preschool teacher. She was 2 months pregnant at the time of the murder. Police say that the husband and wife had an altercation, subsequent to which the husband had murdered the woman. The suspect is due to be produced before the Vavuniya Magistrates Court tomorrow.
Mount Etna erupted dramatically, lighting up the Sicilian sky with ash, plumes and triggering panic among tourists. In gripping footage from the scene, people can be seen fleeing down the mountainside as thick columns of smoke rose rapidly overhead, blanketing the skies and forcing visitors to escape the area.
Sicily's Mount Etna has once again captured global attention, putting on a spectacular display as it sent a towering cloud of smoke and ash several kilometers into the sky. Despite the dramatic scenes, officials assured the public that the volcanic activity posed no danger to residents.
Incroyable. Tout le monde est en panique, tout le monde descend. Ah, truc de ouf là.
According to Italy's INGV National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, the spectacle presented by Europe's most active volcano was triggered when part of the southeast crater collapsed, resulting in a cascade of hot lava flows. The incident marked the 14th such eruptive phase in recent months.
Exit polls of the South Korean election show Lee Jae-myung of the Democratic Party heading for a landslide victory just 6 months after the nation was rocked by a controversial martial law declaration.
Lee Jae-myung of the left-leaning Democratic Party is on track to win South Korea's presidential election by landslide, according to exit polls, with turnout high after months of political chaos. 6 months to the day after ex-President Yoon Suk-yeol plunged the country into crisis with his disastrous declaration of martial law, an exit poll by South Korea's 3 major broadcasters showed Lee with 51.7% of the vote. Conservative challenger Kim Moon-soo was on track to win 39.3% according to the polls. More than 79% of South Koreans had cast their vote for a new president, according to the country's election commission. There are more than 44 million eligible voters nationwide.
We're about to take you to another beautiful spot in Sri Lanka on our special segment, Beautiful Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
This is the Bisodara Falls in Ahliaguda, Ratnapura. Travel along the Ratnapura-Ahliaguda road and make a turn towards Dehiovita from the Ahliaguda junction, and after a short drive, you'll spot Bisodara Alla. It's a beautiful, tranquil place. Legends say at that time the queens of King Mayadunne came here to bathe and enjoy. Today this waterfall is a popular spot for bathing, attracting many tourists. Another legend says that one of King Mayadunne's queens left her gold jewellery near the waterfall and it disappeared. Villagers claim that these gold jewellery sometimes appear and that at times the laughter of the queens can also be heard.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.